Now
If she
you go-
wanted to,
Okay, he said electronically.
Now you go to her, and there she is.
okay, you over there? You see you?
And then if you need to go back to you, you click
There
HTML.
we are. Thank you.
So I just go back to hit that. Okay, gotcha. Thank
Can you
you.
make sure this doesn't get locked tonight? I need it first
Okay.
thing in the morning.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, since you have off the knowledge, do we have the grounded plugs?
Do you have any, do you have another agenda?
Yeah, right behind
Show me
you.
when I get.
Anybody got a does anybody have a copier? One of the things, do you got one of, is there a copier up here? Okay.
I screenshotted it.
Oh, that's what I could do too.
One more.
I'm gonna run back, but I'm.
No, that's right.
late
We're
for
gonna do it.
something
We're gonna do
else.
it.
One more
I can just
magnification.
screenshot it too.
That,
That makes sense.
that's up on the screen now, and
Oh, it's already up there. Here, you can have yours.
Will not go past two.
Well, no, I might need it too.
Yeah.
Let's go through the, go through the minutes. I mean, roll call.
Then he said,
We are live.
It should be under board meetings, so go. All right, so if you're on the My Way There homepage,
You know, identify the names of the people that make the
I'll do roll call. Then I'll call the names out.
meetings.
we'll start the meeting officially in a second.
We need to,
And
okay.
then under July 23rd, you should be able to view the agenda.
Let me know when we're ready to start.
So let me see if this is,
Oh, there you go.
there we go.
I'm ready then.
You ready?
I can see the agenda. We're good.
Okay. All right, 5:36, the Dollar Twinsky Area Transportation Authority Board meeting is in session. Madam Clerk, Secretary, roll call.
Spencer Nesbit,
Yes.
Virgil Hatchett,
Yes.
Daryl Jackson,
Yes.
Cora Robinson. Did I miss anybody?
It's me,
Oh, Ron Singleton.
present.
Okay.
We have a quorum, and next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there any motion to approve the agenda?
Let's scroll it. I don't have a copy.
I make that motion.
Okay,
So motion by.
motion by Cora Robinson, do you have a second? Second by Spencer Nesbit. Call the roll.
Spencer Nesbit,
Yes.
Ron Singleton,
Yes.
Virgil Hatchett,
Yes.
Daryl Jackson,
Yes.
Cora Robinson.
Yeah.
Approved.
Motion approved. Next item on the agenda is the Finance Committee report.
So at this time, we'll have a presentation of financial position from the accountants Hungerford and Kevin.
I'm gonna mute myself, but turn you guys on, so hopefully it won't loop, but let me know if it does.
This is.
Alright.
You guys think it'd be better if we turn the light out? Need the lights on? Okay. Hit the light so it's better.
Let's turn up, Kevin.
Yes, John.
We can't hear you.
Should I talk to you right now?
Testing, testing,
There we
testing.
go, here we go.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so my name's Kevin Posenblick. I'm the lead manager from Hungerford on the Takata account. I'm a CPA and CGFM. I've been working on Takata since December of 2023, ever since I started at Hungerford. But I have about 10 years of experience auditing and working with transit authorities. So glad to be on the account. I'm just gonna briefly go over the June 30th financial statements. Real briefly go over some quick highlights, and then if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. So let me share my screen. Oh, the host has to allow sharing, Tressa, if you can maybe update that.
Give it a try.
Thank you. Okay. So you should see the board financials for June 30th, 2024 now. I'll just run through it real briefly, and feel free to stop me if you have questions on anything. So table of contents, pretty self-explanatory, goes over the balance sheet, the profit and loss, the AP aging and expenses by vendor summary. So first, starting off with the balance sheet, pretty self-explanatory. You see cash sitting at about $658K. I'm just going to touch on some of the biggest changes over year to year. So one thing that we'll notice here, and you'll see on the bottom, is fixed assets. And on this page, it's more of the fixed assets, which those are up about $690,000 from the prior year due to several additions this year. Those additions include roof improvements, a new HVAC system, EV charging stations. So those are all positive things to note for Takata. I'll keep going through the financials. So here's some of the liabilities, the equity, and now heading to the profit and loss statement. So you have all the revenues
All the
here,
stuff that he told me. Do y'all have copies of that?
expenses.
That's so.
And one thing to note is net income is about $600K. So that's up significantly from last year. But I would keep in mind that this is due to Takata receiving several one-time capital grants this year. Those grants include reimbursements for any capital purchases, such as those fixed assets I already explained. So the catch is those fixed assets aren't shown up as an expense, but there's revenue received. So it looks tricky because there's $600,000 in net income, but really it's less than that because those expenses aren't on the books for those capital assets. Those capital assets are depreciated over the useful life of the asset, and they hit the expense under depreciation expense over time. So it's leveled out over time rather than the whole asset hitting the expenses at once. And then just some of the other things. This is the AP aging summary, so it shows a description of all the
Real quick,
items.
Kevin, can you zoom
Yeah.
in at all for us? It's
Make it
really
big.
small.
Yeah.
Thank
Make it bigger.
you so much.
Is this a little better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better.
Sorry about that. So yeah, this is the AP aging summary. It gives a description of all the vendors that are due under accounts payable for June 30th. So just a little highlight of all the vendors due. And then the last statement is just an expenses by vendor summary. So these are expenses by vendors from beginning of year October through June 2024. And it's just summarized by vendor type. I'll slowly scroll through it. Not a very exciting statement. And then that is all for board financials, pretty short. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for the? Here's one, and I didn't quite see those as,
Okay. I'm not hearing any questions.
okay,
Did you want to ask? your question?
yeah,
We actually do have one question. I will say it if you can't hear it.
okay,
Okay.
the
Go for it.
credit cards, I know this, is that listed under a bank or a credit card company or?
Do you want information on the credit cards? Can you
Okay.
kind of pull that up
Yeah.
for us? Thank you.
Yep. So I think you're asking, hold on here. I'm gonna go to it. So the credit card liability, since that's kind of reconciled by us, I believe that's your question.
Yeah.
As of June 30th, it's sitting at $3,531 roughly. That is reconciled by us, our firm, on a monthly basis.
Okay, is it somewhere where it would show,
Summary.
yeah, like where it may have been used at or something like that?
They're asking if there's a breakdown of the purchase locations and what the actual individual purchases are. I'm not sure if that's part of this report, but it is a.
Yeah, it's not a part of this report, but it's something we could provide. If that is something the board would like to see, we could provide that report. It just have to come like via email in the following business day. I have to have the team work on it, pull it, and we can send it to you.
Yes.
would like that. So if you don't mind sending that over to Todd, we'll.
Yep, I'll work on that. I'll have the team send it. The reason there's always a balance at month end is just due to the timing of when all the receipts come in for credit cards. There's usually always a slight balance at the end of the month. But if you'd like a detail for June 30th, I'll have that sent over to Tom.
Okay,
Thank you, Kevin.
Anything else or?
anybody got any else? Anything? Okay. That's it.
Sounds like that's it. Thanks so much.
Okay. Yeah, I know Todd and Tressa thought it'd be a good idea to introduce myself this month, present the financials. So if you don't need me for anything else, I will hop off. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep. Thank you.
So ask Mark to introduce himself and to share what he's working on.
All right, Mark, if you don't mind introducing yourself and share a little bit about what you're working on.
I don't think he heard you.
Muted.
Good evening. My name is Mark Epps. I serve as the Grants and Procurement Manager for Takata. I primarily work with FTA and MDOT to make sure Takata's grants are up to date and in compliance with FTA and MDOT. And I'm also responsible for purchasing of items for Takata's, such as large items such as the new roof, HVAC replacement, and electrical vehicle infrastructure that we just completed. Our next procurement will be to redo the steps and stairways outside of Takata and to replace the trencher. And that's currently what we're working on. And if you might have any questions, just feel free to ask.
Any questions of the grants person? Anybody? Okay.
So Mark, stay with us because we are going to put the procurement, everybody's seen the procurement policy, right? We sent it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mark, hang out with us. We're going to do procurement in a little bit. So don't hang out just yet. Thanks.
Couple lights back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you put it in the back? Yeah.
Where's my break? I get it.
Open it. I don't think you heard.
Here.
Tonya, do you have something?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing just to share with everyone, Richard Lee has resigned and his last day will be this Friday. And we just want to thank him for his service. So there's something that that you're aware of that Richard can answer. Please contact him between now and Friday. Contact me, Tressa. We'll try to get the answer from Richard before he departs.
I do have a question for Ternita. I know you've been to some trainings. Can you give us an update on some of the trainings that you've been through?
Back in June the 23rd, I attended a conference over in Chicago, SHRM conference. So pretty much the training was more so about networking with different people from different parts of the world. They provided some training on certain departments. You had to choose like your topics of interest, what you wanted to go to. It was a lot, but I did learn a few things. I did make a few connections, and I became a member of the network. So if I have any questions, I just call into like a headquarters, and they can assist.
You have any additional training scheduled?
I don't. The SHRM conference was a bit expensive, and that's like something I could do annually versus trying to attend every 90 days or whenever they're hosting. But I am currently looking for something like maybe in the Grand Rapids area.
Okay.
So one thing, just so you know, going forward, is that she will be the new drug and alcohol coordinator.
Okay.
Because Richard Lee, his departure makes that position critical. And so combined with her human resources duties will be that program. And so we have a lot of questions now about where we stand with that program. And Richard does have some answers. So we're going to collect that, we're going to share those with FTA and go forward.
If need be, I'm sure there's other agencies like this one that may have some information too that would be helpful. Any other questions for personnel? Okay. So that brings us to,
Actually, I think Kevin just went through most of this. What's left on this list of finance updates? Oh, approval of June minutes. Did you guys?
oh, okay, yeah, yes, we're gonna do that, yeah. The motion to approve the minutes for
So you can-
June.
I actually don't know
Spencer,
that we
that's it.
shared those with you, so I don't know if you can do those today.
Which,
I have not seen the June minutes.
okay, is it, can we do that at the next board meeting or do that need to be?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I'll make them.
we'll table those minutes too.
So that's tabled.
Yeah. So we need a motion to table the June minutes or we just don't approve them?
I make that motion. Cora.
Okay.
Spencer makes it.
What's the motion?
To table the June
minutes. Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Robinson and supported by Mr. Nesbitt. We can call roll.
Ron Singleton,
Yes.
Spencer Nesbitt,
Yes.
Virgil Hatchett,
Yes.
Daryl Jackson,
Yes.
Cora Robinson, yes.
Okay. Motion approved. I think that brings us down to, we did the purchase by vendors, so that was financial report. Director's update is that's the spot we're at now. Triennial review process.
That's where we are.
Okay.
So the update is that we are intensively preparing for the triennial review that will be conducted mid-September. I believe the dates are September 17th and 18th. But I can be corrected on that.
You're right.
We have a meeting tomorrow with FTA where they will, for the first time, kind of share with me their expectations. I haven't interacted with FTA since I've been in this position. And as you can imagine, with the deficiencies that the agency has, I wasn't running to them.
Yeah.
So I didn't like, hey, guys, I'm here, let's talk, no. And so we really tried to work a little bit with MDOT first, make sure that we were synced with MDOT, and we are. On Monday, MDOT will be at the facility and they'll be conducting a mock review. And that mock review will kind of help us to better prepare for the triennial because they'll be able to address our shortcomings. And so we'll know exactly what we need to do so that we will have a favorable review. So that's Monday. We're working really hard to prepare for that mock review.
Okay. Any,
It's a triennial.
Yeah, that's accurate. We're trying to correct any potential findings in advance, have a corrective action if we know of something. And hopefully with Kevin from MDOT, he'll find some other
That's
things.
all of it.
What we've done so far to implement corrective actions, you'll be seeing today later in the agenda, the procurement policy and the financial policy. They were noted in the annual audit finding that Todd passed out earlier in the meeting. And so we've updated the policies, Marcel, background, making sure Takata actually does what we promised in these new procurement guidelines. In fact, a lot of them were from Mr. Little's time. We used that as a base document and moved on because every year the federal government finds new clauses and stipulations to add to procurement policies, and that had been done since I think 21. So it's 3 years of updating and so forth. And then once the board reviews and approves it, we'll present that to the auditors, and they'll say, okay, we have a new policy here. Have you been following it? And that's where we're going to count on the guy on the video screen, Mark, to make sure he has checked all the boxes and dotted the i's and crossed the t's and that kind of stuff. And that's the same thing for the other document you're going to look at here is financial procedures. That's also in the finding in the blue book. One, for instance, I thought they were a little, not the harshest findings, but I guess they say auditors get paid by the finding. We didn't have our travel costs in the financial policies. Well, and we pay the per diem that's individual by the area somebody goes to. When you went to Chicago, the per diem would be for whatever Chicago hotels and food are. Whatever the IRS mileage rate is, if she drove her personal vehicle there, she get the IRS rate. But since it wasn't written down in our policies, we, got a slap on the hand or a finding. So that's, small updates to the findings because we did go through those back in 21, post 21 with Paul Gillespie as director. I helped him. That was one of my first projects here was to update financial policies. And so I think they were pretty close. But every year they're going to sneak something in on you, and they snuck travel costs in this time. So that's the preparation type work we're doing. Hopefully and Tessa and Todd have also created a spreadsheet from activities that were findings in 21, because these are every 3 years, so that's why I keep coming back to 21. And we're, in the process of reviewing and making sure that anything that happened, that was a finding in 21 hasn't happened again. Unfortunately, these meetings are going to be a finding again because of the closed session process, and we just, we can't change what happened. But it's the craziest thing. I'm asking the feds and the state, what do we need to get back on the good list, let's say, not to have drawdown restrictions from FTA money, which is cumbersome, but a good thing. MDOT is actually holding our 2024 money at this point to see what the outcome of the triennial is. And I keep asking, what's the metric? What do we have to attain to be out of trouble, so to speak? I can't get a straight answer out of them. And that's very frustrating. So I, fronted up one of the gentlemen and I said, well, we had 27 findings in 21. Is 26 findings, better? Is it an improvement? What are you looking for? And we can't get a number out of them. But we're going to do all these corrective actions. Anything that we know about, we're correcting, and really crossing our fingers because it's going to be a real big factor the way the funding sources, the feds and the state treat Takata after that late September review. So no more closed sessions. Until that. I'm joking, but preparation for that's certainly been my focus. One of the findings was the reports. There's a quarterly report that's due, and those weren't done in a timely manner. And I know I've done all those timely and other, reporting type activities that just didn't get done on time. And I think we're pretty much on time, Mr. Nesbitt.
Yeah, do we do internal audits ourselves against the documents that they have found problems on to find out whether or not, to answer some of the questions that you just asked, how many findings and where we stand now? Do we do an internal audit ourselves?
Well, I don't think we have any staff that has auditing skills. The gentleman, Kevin, that was on there, he's an auditor at Hungerford, and he's doing our financial management. So in a sense, he's, auditing Takata to make sure that, reports are accurate and so forth. But we have the state that comes in every year and audits us, and we have the feds that come in every 3 years. and we just have to, stay abreast of any changes that occur. Typically, MDOT sends out a weekly little, they call it the express newsletter, I think they call it. And if something's, significance happened, they'll let us know. They didn't tell anybody about putting your travel costs in your financial plan, but nothing was more significant, like a major change to the 2 CFR 200, which is the Bible of spending and buying with the federal government. So if there was major changes, we know about it. But as far as internal auditing, we are very short of professional staff at Takata. And
we have a good general sense of what it is that they're looking for. And if we have that information internally, we can look and see if it's there.
Yeah, it's about 600 pages.
About 600 pages.
Yeah. It's called the Comprehensive Reviewer Guide, and it's something, somebody in my trade lives by. And I've shared, versions with Angel, with Rufus. I don't know, did you ever get one of those? You didn't want one, I don't think. But with the executive directors, so we know what we have to do. And some of them don't apply, frankly, the sub-recipient, we don't have any sub-recipients. We spend the money internally. We don't give it to another transportation provider to perform services for us, like Ann Arbor does, Kalamazoo does. So some of the things aren't included, but yeah, it's pretty robust. And I like to think we're on top of it, but really working from past findings and making sure you don't repeat the same behavior is the key.
Is there some way you could create a template or some way, a spreadsheet of a list of the things from the past?
That young lady right there
Yes,
has got a view.
Okay.
I can pull it up, give me a second, and I don't know that I have anything up that you guys can't see or shouldn't be seeing, but are you able to pull me down for just a second, because I didn't have it.
Well, what did he tell me to do?
You're like, no, okay, that's fine.
Wait.
Everybody avert your eyes.
I think he said the clerk HDM.
I don't think there's anything up here that you guys can't see, just.
I'm afraid to
Let's just
punch
leave it
buttons
there.
without,
Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
I think that's what it is.
Okay, this is just the fastest version. We have a shared version of this on, in our drive.
Okay.
So this is a list of all of the things we were dinged on at the last triennial review. What's here in the burgundy is what we were actually dinged on. This long explanation is what was attached to that, to kind of explain what the expectations are or why we were dinged on it. This column here shows whether or not it was repeat deficiency and how many times it was repeat deficiency. We have the review area, the code, the item name. Some of them are very simple and will be pretty easy to rectify before they come. I think maybe this one, let's see. Yeah, so this one, for example, is regarding the ADA paratransit plan. It didn't include the visitors policy on the website, even though the visitors policy was in the plan. That's pretty straightforward. We just have to make sure it's on
the website.
The website. Similar to this one, the website says curb to curb. The FTA no longer recommends that language. They like origin to destination. That'll be pretty easy to rectify. On the other hand, with this one, I think this is, yes, okay. So this is about record keeping, past record keeping. This is what I'm working on with Nick currently to get the dispatchers working on. We can't change the past. I know that we only have about half of the information that the FTA is requesting for ADA compliance when we log our trips. The best thing that we can do is put in a plan within the next week or so, really try to work with the dispatchers to make sure that that's consistently being done. And then when the reviewer comes, we can say, hey, look, we put a process in place right after we joined. Woohoo!
Right.
Please give us some points for that. So that's kind of across the board what we have. We have things that'll be easy, things that we won't be able to rectify because we can't change the past or those files are missing. And then things that we can sort of start a process for, get the policies approved for, and try our best to show, hey, we're trying to rectify these things and moving forward. hopefully, since we're trying to work closely with NDOT and now with the federal government as well, they'll understand that we're pretty new to this, but we're working really hard to try to put Takata in a much better position than it has been, at least for this past several years. So that is that. Any questions about these? Any particular areas of interest you have?
One I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
out of the 27.
Yeah.
How many do you think can be
Can be addressed?
addressed? Yeah.
You know, some of them have been, because this is
Yes.
21, so
So-
Okay.
I've just been
Right.
falling asleep, you know, there's been no attention paid, but,
So-
what do you think number-wise?
Number-wise, I'm not sure. I think all but probably the 80A one is the one that I'm mostly focusing on. So clearly at least 3 of the 4 we should be able to address. I think we haven't gone through these very specifically. We got a little sidetracked with a guest at our meeting this morning. But a lot of the financial management capacity items have been addressed even just by introducing Hungerford into the process. So we'll have some clear answers based on our discussions, but a lot of those we don't have to worry too much about. A lot of the disadvantaged business enterprise, Mark is actually an expert in that, so he'll be able to look through those and make sure that they're kind of up to snuff. Really the ones that we have to, I don't want to say worry about, because I think we can't really do that much about them, are anything related to past records that we just don't have. So I'd say out of the 27, I don't know, we're in a pretty good place, right? I think like,
I'm going with a baker's dozen on this.
yeah, I think
Well,
so as well.
Throwing the dice.
I think so as
That
well. I
sounds
think
good.
we'll be able
We
to,
got drugs knockout, we got ADA, we got the Open Meetings
Mhm.
Act, so there's 3 right off the top of my
yeah,
head.
but some of them are just, there wasn't a clear policy in place or the policy was missing this thing. That's pretty easy to rectify.
Probably one in maintenance, you know.
Yeah. But, maintenance, we still need to have a deeper conversation with maintenance, so I don't want to throw them under the bus or anything. But making sure that we have all of our maintenance records in order, that's definitely something that we'll see.
So the goal would probably be try to get down 7 or below. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get as many down as we can, and then anything else that's brought to our attention at our sort of practice review, we address that as well, or at least have a very clear pathway to addressing them by the time the actual review comes around.
And if we can cut it in half with all the transition,
Yeah,
I mean, where there's been 5 of us
heck yeah.
since Alex's time,
Mhm.
right, I mean, things aren't gonna get accomplished when you have that kind of turnover.
Right.
And that's the auditors, if you read this, that's what he blames a lot on, it's just the turnover.
Mhm.
And frankly, the board turnovers, turned over, what, 3 times?
Yeah, we've had a lot of
So
turnover
it's
kind
a
of at
lot
all
of-
levels,
it's-
so.
It's hard to be stable when you're,
Yeah, no consistency.
revolving doors,
Mhm.
Todd calls it.
Yes.
One question, the ones that we have corrected, we do them in a car, do we, a corrective action plan, do we keep records of those to make sure that those don't reoccur again?
So, I mean, it'll depend on what it is. If it's something that is a policy or, as with some of those ADA, like, little wording things, that'll be really easy to rectify and make sure they're kept in place. The only ones that we really would want to keep an eye on is making sure that records are continually maintained. That's probably the biggest one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the ones that MDOT and FDOT FDA really care about. Is that we're continuing to do the things we say we're going to do.
But the procedure, you don't have to write the whole procedure, you just make an amendment to the area that needs to be changed.
Well, I'd say like, we sent you some policies, for example. Updating a policy like that might be as simple as adding a paragraph to that policy and then having it approved at the next board meeting. So they don't have to be, we don't have to write everything from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is stabilization and implementation.
Mhm.
Once Todd goes back to DC and we get somebody, full-time in here like we hope we had with Rufus, but that ship sailed. he was starting to get it, but hadn't had consistency for a couple of years. And that person knows, okay, we had a problem in this area, we had a problem in that area. And they'll be attentive to it, so we don't, not file a report on time, or not put a maintenance record in, the file folder, however we store those in the cloud, I don't know, but.
And to answer your question about keeping track of things, this document is going to be in Takata's files, right? It is in our OneDrive, actually. I'm so sorry, I should have pulled that up a bit more. It's going to be there. The progress status of that will be there. My hope going forward, since I don't know where Todd and I will be in this process 3 years from now, is that they can pull this out and use this as a double check. Like, are we making sure that all of these maintenance things are up to date? Are there any ADA logs or things that aren't happening? And just, look at these repeat deficiencies. We don't want those to become big repeat deficiencies.
That's,
So-
but again, it's about transition. If you're not here, Todd, I don't know, summer vacation in Benton Harbor, does some side work, but whoever's gonna be, steering that ship, these guys, myself, Hungerford, we all need to educate
Yeah.
that individual that's, gonna be in charge to make sure he or she,
And
steers the ship around the iceberg.
And Todd and I have talked about transition plans too with whoever the next management is. We're not quite sure what that's going to look like, but it's definitely on our mind. Corey, you had a question?
Yeah, so this plan
Yes.
is going to be, like you say, is the map to get pretty much where we need to go, right?
Yeah, I would say that this is our checklist.
Okay, so who, is that something that the director, it would be responsible for following? Or is there going to be someone always, like a watchdog, checking this to make sure? How does that work?
That's
You're gonna have a new list after
Yeah.
September,
Well, we're working with this one,
but that's 21.
but I'm just trying to figure out, we put all this stuff together, we have a plan.
yes.
It doesn't do anything unless somebody's checking it consistently
Right.
and making sure and checking the boxes of the progress and the dates and the updates.
Right.
Is there a plan, because this is very important, to have maybe a staff or somebody that can be zeroing on this?
Yeah, so let me,
Yeah.
so this is an internal document that we prepared,
Mhm.
and so this is what we're working from to address.
Okay,
So I, as you said, I don't think we'll get it down to zero, but we're gonna try to get it as low as possible. And then what you'll see there is you'll see what the resolution is, right? So you'll see the deficiency, and then you'll see the dates that we addressed it and what the resolution is. And some of them will be resolved by updating the website, by updating ADA policies, and others will not be resolved only because there's no singular resolution, right? Financial upkeep is ongoing, right? So we have some deficiencies, so we can't say we resolved it and then, the next.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't say we have a process in place.
Right, that's the best we can do on that. So some of them will be, there's a process in place, others will be resolved, and then in terms of management, it'll be our responsibility to make sure that these processes are executed continuously.
so it could be added to, in addition to others that come?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. I mean, I would say it's most likely that it will be added to. I'm hoping it
but
won't be
I
added
guess
to
my
tomorrow.
questions, I don't know, maybe you said it, maybe I didn't understand it. Who will be monitoring that
So
as we go through the process, even after you leave? It would be the director's responsibility? Okay.
And he or she could delegate, I'd recommend.
Okay.
I mean, not only the director should have to go through all the bus maintenance files, but he or she could do just like an auditor. When they come in, they're not gonna look at all, I don't know, probably got 30, 40 vehicles in that 3-year period, which 22 of them or thereabouts now, right? So the director could say, I want a maintenance manager, please pull a file for bus 40. I want to make sure the oil changes were done on time. But they can delegate and, educate their staff at the same time. But the new director, depending on their level of knowledge, has to be taught all 600 pages of the book or there.
Should
It
we,
takes a little bit of time. It doesn't happen, the first year.
should we probably add it in there somewhere, policy that, whoever responsible, which I do agree that it should be the director or his designee or her designee, that every, 4 months, every 6 months or whatever, that there's some type of check being done to make sure that we're still on track instead of, if we wait.
That could be in their executive director report to the board each month, what did you check on this month, hopefully they have a good, after you catch it the first time, I bet you'll get an answer every other month.
Right. And if you have, I think if you wrote it in the policy with some type of policy that it would look favorable to auditors, that we are gonna stay on top of it or something.
I mean, I don't think it would hurt us to be able to say, hey, we even are now requiring our executive director to report on
Progress.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Just like that he did a checkup on maintenance once a month or every 2 months or 3 months or however frequently you guys would like that to happen.
Reviewed those ADA laws.
Yeah.
Because that's another one, it's just so
Yeah.
tricky. And then Harvard pulled the ADA off.
Yeah.
ADA off.
I mean, I would hesitate to have them all in 1 month. I'd maybe alternate them just because there's not a lot of staff and a lot that needs to get done at the moment. But yeah, I don't think that would hurt anything. You have more expertise on these relationships than I do, but I can't see a downside.
With the board asking for certain documentation, I think like
Well-
Ron's question was
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying putting a policy in place that is saying that the director presents for example, yes, I checked in on the ADA logs for the past month. They looked good,
Yeah, or,
or they didn't.
they were there.
or all,
Yeah, or present, which is one thing.
or all the things that we, supposed to be in compliance with, what was it?
Would a better word be a
FTA or
goal
something.
of the director added into, as a goal, is to provide this monthly review of this report?
I mean, when it comes to this document, this is really only gonna be relevant until we get the next review. And at that point, there will be some things in some zones that are probably more worth regular reporting than others. You don't need me to tell you every single month
Every month,
that,
no.
yes, the language on the website is still origin to destination. And there's a lot that's not included on here that could be included in a review in the future. Like this list will probably grow. This list will hopefully shrink. And so it'll look completely different
It'd be
when
like,
it's reviewed in November.
Yeah. like a 6-month checkup list or something, just to, instead of us coming, during the year that the triennial is due, and we find out,
It could be 6 months, it
I
could be
wouldn't
an
even,
annual, it could
I
be.
wouldn't even let it slide.
Might as well do it quarterly.
Yeah,
Quarterly.
Working quarterly, we might as well do it quarterly, 3 months,
yeah,
check up in quarterly.
I think,
There's 21 subject matter areas. And I said we have 27 findings, so that tells you inside each subject matter area, there's
Mhm.
multiple elements, like you read ADA, 4
Yeah.
areas of that. So you could, every quarter say, we want to look at these 4 elements, sort of 3 months, 3 elements. Explain to me ADA, financial capacity, and technical capacity. Maintenance, DD, right. Well, yeah, depending on the size of the topic, how much expectation you report.
yeah, I mean, specific reports are easier to get.
That could be in the job
But-
description.
duties or something.
Yeah. It definitely could be.
All right. Anybody got any?
Be done.
All right, should we hop back over to wherever I put our agenda?
Union contract and update.
There it is. All right. Are we?
So, yeah,
Yes,
so,
union contract.
so you should have received a union contract.
Let me just,
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything. I don't know what email, did you send it out?
I definitely sent
Can
some
you
of this.
verify my email? Because if you're sending it to me, I don't have
Your
it.
email specifically, I've had some problems with.
Mine is JENNY _, not dash, _ MEEKS 0350, 0350, should say 0350 @yahoo.com.
May I ask, did you get the procurement policy?
I got the procurement policy, I got the financial policy, but I didn't get,
Well,
we
I think
haven't
those
got,
are the two that I sent. I didn't send them.
but we haven't gotten any, we didn't get,
union
I didn't
contract?
get the agenda, we didn't get any of the
Okay.
bills.
Agenda should have been with the procurement policy, but
You say it's with the procurement policy?
that one should have been with the procurement, in the same email.
The same email was two boxes
Was
on
it
there.
two? Let me double check.
Yeah, you had-
So the thing with the union contract is that we weren't gonna bring it up for a vote. There's some things that they need to do. It needs to be ratified on their side. I did send it to Ron, and one of the things that, and I don't know, did you send it out, Ron, or you said when you saw that they had ratified it, you need to send it?
Yeah,
Because they hadn't ratified it.
there was no action for us to take on.
Right, there's no action for you to take,
Yeah.
because they hadn't ratified it. And so before they send a contract that you can take action on, they have to agree to it, which they didn't. But I did want to send it to you because two things. One, the current contract has expired, the previous contract expired, so we're just operating on a continuance based on a contract that expired, September 30th? Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where that stands. With respect to the union contract, there does need to be some further clarification of expectations on the part of employees, because it seems what is happening is that in areas where there are things that aren't quite clear, people taking advantage of that. And they find these cracks, right? And so if we don't say a bathroom, yeah, well, I mean, if you don't say a bathroom break, someone says, I want a bathroom break. And we say, okay, but we don't say how long a bathroom break is.
Right.
Then, they come back an hour, I was constipated, okay. So what we need is, that's more, like if you get constipated, you need more than 10 minutes, then that's two types of breaks, right? That's a bathroom break and a medical break, right? But what we're finding is that by not having, that level of clarity, people are really kind of taking advantage of that. And so when you go through the contract that you get, if it's not clear, then that's the kind of thing that you want to share with us. Like, okay, wait a minute, I read this and I wasn't really sure what is meant by this. And if you're not sure what is meant by this, then we need to address it so that you are. Because as I said when I accepted this limited role, that I really wanted to kind of focus on financials and preparation. And the very first day, it's been like coming in with this issue, that issue. And as they come in with these issues, there's the things that they put on the table, the policy isn't quite clear. So I'm like, okay, I can see how you could twist it. If you just twisted it as much as you could, maybe you could agree that your interpretation is correct. So you'll see another policy. I just heard from the attorney today. He had a couple things that he had recommended about the policy. I'll make a note on what I send to you, but just note that they need to ratify it first. And so I just sent it just as an information purpose, so that you had it, you see it, and know that it's in progress. But I would not send it to you for approval until they ratify, because we can't approve something until they said this is what it is. So that's all I had. That's all. All of mine.
Okay. Think what they call tentative approval.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just.
Okay.
So EV shelters, I don't know if you have seen, that we do have 3 electronic vehicles. And so we are looking to put a shelter over the area where they charge, mainly to protect the vehicles and the batteries and make sure that when they're fully charged, that we can get the range that's needed. Batteries perform much worse when it's cold. And so if those EVs sit outside and the snow and the ice, then the range that they could operate before needing to be recharged may be lessened. And so what we want to do is we want to put a shelter on the east side of the building so that those vehicles would be protected. And the reason why they're outside is because one, to put them inside was going to create some problems just in terms of maneuverability. And then secondly, those are prototypes, and there still is the potential for them to explode or catch on fire when they're charging. And so it's kind of better if that's going to happen for it to be outside.
It's not a high chance, it's just
Possibility.
Yeah, it is. It's still a
one
possibility.
model of EV.
Right, it's a possibility that's greater than zero.
But yeah.
And it could probably affect your insurance to having them inside the building.
I don't think they're allowed to have them inside.
No.
Insurance don't want them inside the building.
Yeah, I forgot to say.
So that's it. We don't have a number on, we don't have a number in terms of what that's gonna cost. So, but I just wanted you to know that was in progress, and we're really trying to make that happen before the winter, because we don't want those vehicles out there in the budget.
All right. Any questions on that? Straightforward.
Straightforward.
Yep. Okay.
Grants and capital improvement updates. Nick, can you address that? And then I don't know if Mark has something he wants to add to it.
Thanks for hanging out.
Like Mark saying that as far as, we trying to do the steps or whatnot, fix the steps and fix the drain in the building. It was after that, we were supposed to try to get some bathrooms, to fix the bathroom, to remodel the bathrooms. But as far as the capital improvements, I think that's pretty much it that's coming up with the capital improvements that we have. Mark, you wanna go? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just, everything is kind of just on hold until we get this, new procurement policy approved. And also on the grants update, I'm in the process, final stages of amending some funds into a grant, roughly about $580,000. Some of that will go into capital, some of that will go into preventive maintenance, and some of that will go into operating. So that's all I have.
That's our old money from 23 we're trying to get into a grant. So we have $1 million in 24 money sitting up at MDOT. We'll see what the triennial does, before they release it. And Mark's also working, he's being shy, but he's also working with MDOT trying to get about 80,000 in match money that they can't figure out how to get through the system. So it's just, more than a full-time job managing grants and compliance. The other thing that we don't want to do any procurements until you guys approve this, because we had a finding for it. So we're kind of holding off on rebidding the concrete jobs. We haven't really even bid the bathrooms yet, and we have to bid shelters. And really, we need to do the executive search piece if that's still going to pursue, or whatever the next thought of the board is. That's going to be some kind of procuring of services that way. And the other thing we have an A&E firm under contract, and it's this old grant money from 2018, and the feds are really harping to spend it. So they've engineered the bathrooms, they've engineered the steps, engineered the floor drains. So we have to bid specs is the word I'm looking for those. They're in the process of engineering the parking lot. It's kind of a perfect timing for Todd's shelter structure idea, because not that we can probably afford all those things at once, but we'd have engineered drawings for the parking lot. I mean, the shelters are easier than re-engineering the whole parking lot there, because that's gonna be a big process. And if electrics work out, and I'm sure Nick's kind of measuring, how they're doing efficiency wise. And if they are the future, which I'm not 100% sure, I think they are for local trips. I don't want to take it to Colorado or something, but we'd have to have more charging stations. And so that's going to go in the A&E stuff, and that's already in process.
We're gonna have to upgrade the power.
Well, that's up to the engineers. I just do finance. I don't do power, man.
Finance is wrong.
Yeah. So consumers energy on my shirt.
So the range you're getting on those now, what?
They're lasting a whole day. They're lasting 8-hour shifts. We didn't think that they would last 8 hours, but they're lasting 8 hours once they learn how to drive them, because they got the regenerative braking. And so once you don't have to step on the brake, it slows down and it put battery life back into it if you let it brake by itself. But the only thing that we, is, skeptical for the winter. See how it works in the winter, because even not only it's sitting outside, if, when they cut that heat on, driving is going to drain the battery more than air conditioning. So we just still trying to see how it's going to work out for this winter, so keep fingers crossed, and hopefully they work out fine, because we definitely need them. I know vehicles next, but so we might as well just go right into it. Vehicles, we do have I don't know if you guys are familiar, we had 3 EVs, we down to 2. I don't know if you know that one of them got in an accident, and so one of them down, our driver got in an accident, so we're down to 2 EVs right now. We're working on trying to get those fixed, as of right now. Appraiser should be coming out in 2 days to take a look at it. And as far as that, we got 3 more vehicles, gas vehicles came in last week. They still haven't been tagged and they're not ready to go out, but hopefully we can get them out next week sometime and get them on the road or whatnot. So adding to the fleet that we need, they're chauffeur vans. They're just like the EV vans, the EVs, they look just like them. And so it's a much needed vehicles, because, most of our vehicles down there is back and forth with the AC and the hot for our drivers and, and our riders. So we're trying to make them as comfortable as possible and put them in something that has air conditioning for the summertime. And so that's pretty much what we got going on with vehicles. I mean,
3 more coming.
Yeah, we do have 3 more coming. Yeah, and I think they do have vans already formed, so they're looking to be here maybe in September. 3 more the same kind of vans, gas vans. Hopefully they're here in September, and so it helps the fleet and help us be able to move people efficiently.
And we do have more grant money program. I think Nick knows it, but it's kind of my area for vehicles. What happened previously was it 2018?
Yeah.
The management at that time bought a lot of vehicles. They had a lot of money to buy vehicles. That makes sense, but there's no rotation plan there. So now in 2025, you got all these 18s that are worn out and eligible for replacement. If you replace a couple a year, that way you don't get hit all at once with, I need, $1.5 million to replace, 15, whatever it is, 10 vehicles. We're bought an 18. So we're trying to do a fleet rotation plan. And of course, Nick and management here have realized that CDL drivers are a challenge. So we're reducing the seating capacity in most new purchases so they can be chauffeured licensed drivers. So there is a method to this fleet rotation and replacement madness.
Got a question?
Yeah.
You said the accident happened in one of them. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit about what
Well, the
happened?
accident happened, let me see, let me get the paper so I don't misquote, anything. A driver was driving and, unfortunately, he had some kind of condition that I don't really know what his condition that he had that made him veer off the road and hit a tree, sideswipe a tree. And so he had 2 passengers on the vehicle with him, and all 3 of them went to the hospital. From what I got, all of them had minor injuries, nothing major, but so basically that kind of sums it up. He veered off on some kind of condition that he had, and
Now, you say that these passenger buses are chauffeur buses, chauffeur license?
they're required. Yeah, they're chauffeur. They're under 16 passengers,
So,
seating wise.
so we don't know, I guess my question would be, you don't know what kind of medical condition he had. So that's not something that would have been disclosed to us or,
I don't want to speculate. I don't.
but I'm just saying, no, there's no physical, there's no,
I will say, I mean, he didn't, yeah, you say.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, when he got hired in, he takes, they do their physical. He's a CDL driver, so
okay.
he,
You
he
gotta
has
take
his CDLs, so he does his physical, so he did that and it was up to date. So I don't know,
Wouldn't that incident report require some of that? I mean, required to some report from the medical condition, or they went to the hospital? Is there any feedback from?
Well, we're still waiting. He was supposed to have been sending something, bring
We've been
something.
asked to turn in the findings from a doctor, however, the documents that have been turned in, I feel are not straightforward. So I have just say maybe authorization for treatment form and the paperwork that they give you when you go to the emergency room, but no actual paperwork in regards to the condition.
I will also say this is a driver's personal medical information.
right,
Even if we're aware of what the actual condition is, this is not the venue to
Right.
discuss it in great detail. I will say, what we can say is it was a medical issue. It was not, right, he didn't test positive for drugs or alcohol in his
No.
system, nothing like that. And we're dealing with this as we have additional information. Yeah.
I think that's all we really need to
Yeah.
talk about that because of, those legal issues, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Did we do a ridership for June? I don't know who usually, so I was like, no, okay.
We were working with, okay.
Did we get the fuel report?
No, but, that's in terms of things that the board should consider tracking. The fuel report is one, because,
Yeah.
the fuel bills are going up astronomically.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing them come through, and it's just amazing that, fuel is, rising this fast. So.
now, is the fuel here?
Yes,
Okay.
but, it's contracted, so they bring it in and we've been, and it's in the bills, right? When you went through the list of bills, that you can look in there and see it,
Mhm.
and you'll see that it's a big number.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $20-some thousand
Mhm.
fuel.
I
And
think
there's 2
the,
types of fuel, there's gasoline and propane, yeah.
I think the good news is that in terms of the EVs, at least even if the range is shorter, when the weather's not as ideal, we still might be able to get a little bit of fuel savings using the electric power instead of the gas power. But yeah, they were pretty big bills, and it's just the price of fuel. It's not, as far as we know, it's not anything completely wild that's happening.
Industry-wide, its biggest expense is labor, second biggest one's fuel, third biggest one's insurance. And I think we know that gas pumps, the prices haven't dropped much lately, so
Yeah.
we're all feeling it a little bit. I don't know if there's any other challenges you're concerned about, but yeah, it's It's a variable one, but it's always the top three.
And so that was a good segue, and we're gonna get back into the procurement policy, but I think that's a good segue into the insurance issue that we face, because that's very serious. Takata faces a grave circumstance with the Michigan
Transit pool.
Transit Pool. They sent letters, they said that they met with you, they spoke with us today, the president and a couple people spoke with us, and the terms are so serious that they're looking to review, continuing our coverage next month after the triennial review. If they decline to continue our coverage, then we would have to find another carrier, which would almost be impossible, because they would ask, why did your previous carrier discontinue you? And based on their research there, they're like, no. In addition to that issue, there are some safety issues that we need to address. In the letter, he mentioned some things, but there are some ongoing just checks that just, sometimes it's a report, sometimes it's a response to an email, but there's a perception out there in MDOT, FTA world, that Takata isn't as diligent with its safety practices as are needed. And that's one of the reasons why the number of claims has been so high, right? Because the reason why they're considering discontinuing coverage is because of the claims. And so given that we need to do a better job of reducing those claims, they're saying a part of that is our safety, not just policies.
Safety practices.
Safety practices, absolutely, safety practices.
So how do we best deal with that? Is it like,
Hire another safety manager to replace Richard Lee. But again, yeah, your resources are limited. That's the challenge of all this. And we can write a beautiful policy, but if it's not implemented, then, it's gonna, and it's frankly hard. You have, I heard you lost a couple drivers, besides the accident, John lost a couple drivers this week. So now when you bring another driver in, hopefully to replace the one that left, they got to go through all the training, you got to make sure they watch the videos, you got to make sure you're constantly checking not only the pre-intake of drivers' motor vehicle records, but a quarterly check of all of them, because if they're not driving safely in their private automobile, that's a risk for the organization as well. And even the pool guys even want criminal histories checked some besides intake. I went through that with my board. I don't want to open that can of worms today, but yeah, there's improvements for sure. This insurance, Todd's, I don't know, it's like you're fighting a battle on three fronts right now. You got FTA not knowing what they're going to do, MDOT holding money, an insurance company threatening to terminate.
What kind of claims are the insurance company concerned? What's that?
All of them.
Well, the biggest ones are the ones where employees are suing the board. Now, I don't think we're hurting in collisions, but it's injuries from, like these people that were in that EV vehicle, they all have back injuries, here we go again. We have wheelchair,
Claims could be forthcoming.
Yeah, I don't know, it's that kind of religious society.
And what they've already done is they've raised our liability deductible from 10,000 to 75,000, right? And so that's already in place as of December 1, 2023. And so that has a lot of implications.
The first 75 grand's on the operations budget.
Yeah.
And so you get a couple of those,
And I think in terms of the frequency of claims is part of what they're really concerned about, but we were allowed to have up to 3, or three and they get concerned within a 5-year time frame. We had 5.
And the other transit agencies that pay into the pool, they're not happy because after the claims reach a certain
They have to
amount.
pay part of it.
And it's a pool.
Yeah,
And so they're just gonna keep the number up.
We have some advocates in there that are, have been lobbying since this has been going on for a while, as you guys.
So in terms of us having to address this, what is our approach?
We have a letter from the pool. We need to improve the safety plan. We need to do those
Yeah.
checks I was talking about. We need to probably have somebody that's really focused on safety. And I know these two are kind of splitting some of Richard's work, but,
Right.
you know, you probably need another person in the office there, frankly.
So it's because Nick is also now the new chief safety officer. So.
And chief operations officer, and chief maintenance officer, chief cook and bottle washer.
Yeah,
What
so.
do you call that bitch place?
Yeah. So he and Tornita basically are splitting up Richard's responsibilities.
Yeah.
So you can see, and they're both walking into the triennial review without having the background. So as all of us.
Yeah.
And they come in and you can imagine, the position I'm in when I have to absorb these things, right? Because they're holding me responsible for correcting these deficiencies. So I'm just sitting there like, yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am. Yeah, in case, whichever the case may be.
Yes, two things I'm thinking of. Is it anybody, like maybe from some other agency that,
from some other department or.
from the, or maybe we could send some of our people to go train with them or something for,
Yeah, so there are some proposals that they put on the table. There's videos that they've recommended that we're looking through. Those are mainly around the HR type things, to kind of limit some of those liabilities, but that's where a lot of the lawsuits have originated. And so there's that. And then we're trying to seek some other kinds of training for drivers, just so that they can continually be abreast of safe practices and also reporting. Because one of the most important aspects of the safety program is everyone reporting, right? From drivers to dispatchers to administrators. If you see, see something, say something, and that's really what we have to try to implement to make sure that the vehicles are safe as possible.
We at some point were sort of warned that insurance was going to be an issue if we got rid of another director. Does that also apply to your resign?
Doesn't help.
Yeah, that issue was raised. I mean, because the number of directors over this short time frame has really raised doubts in the minds of both federal and state officials about
And insurance.
right, about our ability to properly manage this agency. All three, yes.
Somebody got any other questions? Anything else on that? So we know what we gotta do.
So the safety policy they're working on currently, that should be available for the next board meeting to be approved,
Yes.
correct? Yep. The ADA policy, we were hopeful we'd be able to get that to you guys by this week. I've been working very diligently with Kim Gallagher to make sure that that is what it needs to be. She's been very helpful, by the way. But we do have a procurement policy to review. And
Yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
staffing policy we'll do that at a later meeting. So one of the things, for those of you who don't know about Tressa right now, is that Tressa is still on the University of Michigan budget, on the University of Michigan payroll. And she will remain so through August. But in September 1, we're gonna have to move her over, and we can talk about that going forward.
Okay.
So Mark and Oliver, this is your, because you received the policy, the procurement policy.
Yeah.
No.
And so we want you to be able to answer any questions. Mark and Oliver have any
Anybody need
notes that you want
to see it?
them to be aware of?
I can explain why we're doing it, certainly. So I alluded to this a little bit when Mr. Little was here. He wrote a policy in 2021 that was acceptable, passed muster. None of us knew about it. So I know the federal guidelines very well. The twist that was in Mr. Little's policy, I'm not blaming it as a good policy, was they said every procurement, there's forms that MDOT creates, Appendix A, price, how do you know it's equal value or something like that? Well, you have a couple quotes, that's how you know. So there's forms for everything. And so we didn't know that we had a policy that said we had to use forms. And so the auditor for this said, where's all the forms? And I said, what do you mean forms? He said, I'll follow the federal regulations. And we didn't have any disbarred vendors. We didn't have any people that lobbied the government. We, got competitive quotes on anything at any level. Everything was done. Because I see that, but you didn't fill out the forms in the policy. Looked at Mark, so I had never seen the policy either. So we got a finding for not filling out the forms. So we've eliminated the form requirement, was the primary thing, and updated anything that was, kind of outdated. But gist of it, it's basically Alex's policy. There's just not a lot of forms to fill out, and we won't miss any forms because it's kind of a gotcha. You missed the form. That helps.
Seems like you're looking to get us.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up for you guys, just be a second.
So not having the form is not a requirement for them then, but if you have one,
There's like 20 forms, that's the problem, and you're not gonna, get it right every time. And that's when the auditor gets paid by the finding, there's one that we eliminated. One potential finding we eliminated is not having, forms.
And so that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we don't do with the safety plan. We want to make sure that we have a safety plan that is effective, but we don't want to put things in the safety plan that we know that we won't adhere to, right? And then we can turn around and get dinged for it, because it's like you said in your safety plan, you're going to do this. Where is it?
The red ink was
Yeah, the red ink are any changes from the 2021 version of the policy. So we've got, you'll see this language a lot. Viewed by the executive director or appointee, we specifically left this a little vague so that it could be clear in a sort of appendix for auditors as we reestablish what Takata's management looks like.
It's always good to have backup plans, time where you get, sick or something, you don't trust them. Procurement can still go on.
Yes. Let's see.
There's not, that's not a lot
Next
of.
change, looks like it's on page 5, the financial plan, annual budgets are prepared and submitted to board of trustees for approval. A multi-year financial plan is prepared and maintained by Takata Finance Director, outlining sources of revenues and anticipated operating and capital expenses. I don't know if you guys need me to go through all of these, but I think I can.
But yeah, so you see the budget every year, I believe, they present that to the board. And that requires us to have a budget for, let's say 18 months out or something like that. What you really haven't seen is a 5-year plan, and I've done some as per FTA's request, but I don't think it's ever been presented to the board. So we can show you, in 5 years, you're getting pretty vague, we expect this much in operations, not, how many dispatchers and drivers, not all operations detail, but, there's all the fleet rotation plan, 3 buses this year, 2 buses next year, that year after that, 3 buses. That's some kind of projections out here. Frankly, you're guessing 5 years out what it's gonna look like. We thought about EVs 5 years ago.
This section on page 9 is probably important. It's about board member disclosure of conflict of interest
So that's what,
practice.
so we put a form in there too.
I believe so.
Right, too. So I mean, if you have somebody that's, say, you're in the construction business, and we're doing a parking lot, you're, brother-in-law's bidding on the job.
It's a policy,
There's
yeah.
a, conflict of interest form, and you make, sequester yourself from the room when the board, discusses it or something.
This section.
These are the little improvements that weren't there last time that we've been made, I learned about the last 4 years.
So one of the things that's important about this is that we're gonna adhere to this, that these, while we execute any procurements, so that when challenged about the policy, not only will we have the policy, but we'll show that we adhere to it with the process.
There were some questions about credit card purchases previously. There is a section on credit card purchases on page 12.
Record keeping, basically.
Basically, record keeping, making sure things look right.
That probably was there.
I think
Alex.
As I read that policy,
this.
they're not carrying the cards with them. They have to access the card from somebody to go purchase the item? Or is it something that a person has in their pocket at all times?
The card that we have in our pockets that we was given, from Angel, the last executive director, was some debit cards. There's certain amounts that goes on the debit cards every month. So if you use a purchase with the debit card, you have to upload the receipt that you use every time you use a purchase with the debit card. And so after, either you use all your amount or whatnot, whatever your amount is set to, at the beginning of the next month, they'll put the money back on there, what it is every month. So any purchase that you make with the debit card, the receipt has to be uploaded for documentation to trace what purchase is made.
What if you make a purchase that's beyond what your limit is?
If you have to get approval. It won't, it's declined. If you don't have enough on your card, you won't be able to make the purchase. So basically, if it's something out of that, then you'll have to be trying to get some more money loaded onto the card to make the purchase. And so that's how they've been tracking the debit cards, purchases and receipts.
That seems like a check and balance.
It is a check and balance. I mean, that's
a debit card at my job before, yeah.
That's what, when we was talking about check and balance and past board meetings, we do have a check and balance on the debit cards. It's a certain amount get loaded up, so anytime you use it, we have to take a picture of the receipt, upload the receipt. So we've had check and balances on the debit cards. So I don't know where it came from, but we did have. Yeah, Hungerford came with the debit cards, but we always, since I've been there, had check and balance with the debit cards.
Can make a request.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
For more money.
More money, yeah.
You got bigger
It is.
purchase.
If you've already exhausted your limit for your.
Who okays the request? Is that the executive director? Or is that?
That was the director, it goes to the director.
Okay.
Just for administrative purposes, I don't have a card. I'm trying to cut down expenses, so I'm not driving the director's car. I'm trying to cut every expense, so, just know, we're trying to cut some costs because, since I've been in the job, I've just seen so many things, like from, Orkin doing, extermination every month. Okay, they charge us, I'm like, they can do that once a quarter. Okay, and it's like, we got a subscription to Amazon. No one uses that about.
Well, that was.
Well, you figured out what it is.
We figured out what it is. That was something that the previous administration had when they had the Ring doorbell up and the Amazon Music. That was the previous administration, but just to let you know, I stopped payment on that today as well.
Okay.
So all of that Amazon Prime and the Amazon Music, I stopped payment from Huntington today.
Okay, yeah, so see, there's just a number of things that are just kind of floating around out there. And so, we're really trying to put an end to that. which is getting in the way of how you say,
Doing what you need to do.
our preparation for what's next,
Right.
right? Because that was really our charge, is right, trying to prepare a recommendation for what's next, but we're, swimming on, the operational type issues every day. It's something operationally, okay? And then, I don't want to even downplay this accident. This accident is serious. Because the timing of it and the pressure that we're on relative to the insurance pool, right? And so this insurance issue is a grave threat to the continuation of the agency.
Absolutely, because if we don't have insurance, there's no operation.
There's no operation.
Because the city wants to pick up the liability.
Yeah, right.
Doubt it. Got enough
Ron?
Is there a certain thing as self-insured?
Yeah,
Anybody know how that works?
Well, you don't have the resources.
You don't have the resources?
You have to have a reinsure, you have to have a couple million in the bank, that you have to have a reinsurer above that level, and with the CAT's loss history. So some municipalities do have their own insurance, and there's transits that fall under it, but I don't know. Ben Harbor, has their self-insurance. Funding.
You said it would almost be impossible for us to get reinsured if we have an insurance company that drop us.
Lloyd's of London would probably insure you, but
But it costs a lot of money.
take all your money, so you wouldn't be able to operate the buses. It's a bad position to be in after you've had one insurance company ask you to leave. Somebody will sell it to you. I just don't know, at what cost? What do you give up for that? How much service do you give up? That's what it'll come down to.
All right, any further?
So, if there's any questions, but frankly, we're kind of, Mark and I are in a holding pattern on all these projects. Everything, Todd's trying to do with different, guidance you've given him. And, so, if you don't like them, please let us know. We can change them, but we have to do this at an open board session.
Sure.
All members to vote on it. And what is it? The chairman signs it, presses up the covers it.
Yeah.
Chairs, secretary, I forget which one signs, but there's two sets. Because there's one.
Chairman's signature and then the board.
There's procurement, and there's a financial policy too, right?
Financial and grant
Chairman
management
signature.
procedure and capacity, I thought, aren't they the same, the procurement and the,
This is the procurement policy.
I thought Kevin put them in the same document. That's what I was thinking about this issue.
But Kevin was doing the financials. There's a procurement policy that was a couple
Oh,
weeks
this is the one I
before.
sent. This is the one I have.
so this is the procurement policy.
This is the financial
Oh,
policy.
this is the
Right.
financial policy.
Yeah. And so when Tressa said Kevin, so Kevin was on the screen earlier, he's an auditor. He reviewed this, I had authored it after 21. Kevin reviewed it, added to it. That's where some of Kevin's writing, I think, came in there. But you don't have the procurement policy, that wasn't even, it wasn't emailed, I guess.
In the procurement
We have
policy,
the procurement
I have a
policy.
version of it. I don't
Everybody
know
has
what
a
it is.
procurement policy.
You did get a procurement
I
policy.
sent I know I sent the procurement policy and the financial policy.
Right,
by
the two
email.
separate policies. that I would hope to
I
have
know I got that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah,
sent
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It should have been in your email.
That saves
Yeah.
us 30 days of whole pattern around the airport.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
good. Thank you, Lord. Take care of me.
So, at this point, what we need to do, make a,
We got so much emotion.
Motion to,
Well, since I've read the policy, I'll make the motion that we approve, are we gonna do one or both at the same time?
let's do them both.
That we approve the revised or corrected, or what should we say? We updated, Transportation Authority procurement guidelines and the financial and grant management procedure capacity.
It's been moved by Ms. Robinson, been seconded by Spencer Nesbit. Madam Clerk, Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Ron Singleton,
Yes.
Spencer Nesbit,
Yes.
Virgil Hatchett,
Yes.
Gerald Jackson,
Yes.
Cora Robinson, yes.
Motion carried. Alright. That brings us to the,
Chair's report.
You get Todd the ink, or as my architect's called the wet copy. What's that mean? It's with ink.
Chair's
Aye.
report.
On both covers.
Chair's report, we don't have, we'll just do it in our final comments. Any, at this time, will any board members have any comments they want to make?
I have a lot of comments, but I probably better hold them,
Okay.
because I'm just trying to absorb everything that we just
Okay,
received in this meeting today, so I think I'll just
hold on.
not say anything.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, you. Okay.
So one thing though, I would like to ask is if we could schedule a meeting during the week of August 12th, I believe.
What day is that on?
I mean, there is some time during the week, whatever, we could do it on a Tuesday if that's the best day. That'd be August 13th.
August,
August 13th is a Tuesday, yeah. Second Tuesday.
Okay.
It's a full board meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I want to discuss our transition plans.
So it'll be at 5:30, like this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you notify the clerk to set a meeting?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can call.
Okay.
So when you say notify the clerk, the procedure
City
has
clerk.
been,
The city clerk.
I
Yeah.
just want to know what the procedure is.
Yeah, it would be a
We
special,
we just call, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a special meeting?
special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
And then she does the
and then she'll
posting?
do the posting.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anybody have her number direct?
Okay.
If you don't call in the city,
927-8400.
784, is that her direct line? Does she have a direct line or cell number?
Punch,
The 13th at 5:30.
punch 5.
Number 5?
Yeah, and then it'll tell you the assessor or the clerk, and then it'll press one of them. Yeah.
I just stop in the office.
Yeah, but if you don't get it, let me know.
If you can't get the city for,
Yeah.
So just so you know, that this will be in lieu of a meeting on the 20th, or the 23rd, 27th,
it's the last
You're the
Tuesday,
third Tuesday, aren't you, normally?
third Tuesday, or fourth?
fourth Tuesday.
Fourth
Oh,
Okay.
So bad information.
Yeah, so this would be in lieu of that meeting.
Right, this would be a special meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to get that before he's out of town.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you need
Yeah.
those dates, August 13th, and then the,
The regular,
We're gonna have a
It's
better
always
idea
the
of where we
fourth
stand.
Tuesday.
yeah, the regular meeting, she'll post it. Clerk already know to post it.
okay, but I'm saying
Yeah.
for the reporter.
Okay. All right, anything else on that?
Any other,
Any other-
any other comments?
Mr. Hatcher, you got anything?
No, I'm sure agonizing for us as a company or agency over this insurance issue, which we knew was coming. That'll make us or break us.
And
You know, I'm advocating really hard, and if we could get
Maybe we need to start looking for an insurance carrier now.
Before they
I
cancel
don't
us.
know that. I think if we could have an action plan moving forward, either with an executive director or whatever you come up with, I think that would do a lot for the three pillars that are, we're on a three-legged stool. We don't want one of them to be yanked out, but if you have a, action plan as a board, Todd's direction and advice, that would go a long way. It's just the unknown, I think, scares insurance guys more than anybody, but our friends in Chicago and Lansing, they're not scared, they're just.
Well, how negotiable would it be if they came to want to remove them, to release us? I mean, insurance, it's probably not going to be up for discussion.
Well, no, but they've given you that reservation of rights letter, and it says they're not going to cover any more of the, the whistleblower, the other, interpersonal litigation from employees against the organization. They haven't taken away your vehicular insurance at this point. They've raised that deductible to $75,000, but they're open, my impression, Dave, clearly the guy that, whatever the chairman, he's elected, I think, every couple of years, other guys, Glenn was the second guy, he's a hired gun. But Dave, he runs a transit agency in Port Huron. He's very sympathetic to this situation here. It's just, having a plan of action going forward. The cell I was giving him, you got Rufus, he's good, he's working on it. They liked him, but, we just didn't stick it out. So now, what's our new plan of action? Do we got a person? Do we got a management team? What do we got coming in here? And, we can pitch it. And, it's, and not have any more big lawsuits. So,
Hire the new director from heaven.
Yeah, Jesus.
Ain't nothing wrong with going to church on Sunday for that.
This man goes directly to God.
I don't know how my congregation will feel if I'm praying for an executive director, but they're pretty open-minded.
Well, I pray for everything myself, so.
All right, Mr. Nesbitt, you got
I have to agree with, all it said. I think we just need some type of a plan going forward to show improvement, what we're trying to improve and how we're gonna get there. Because if we don't have that, we dead in the water.
I think also, got to be noted that, we can't do nothing too much about the past, but, we do know that a lot of issues that got us to this point,
We're trying to correct.
yeah, and we inherited as a board, management inherited some of it, and some of the actions that some of the previous, boards has taken that kind of got us in this thing too. I'll be meeting with some of the commission, in fact, the mayor and the mayor appoints and the commission confirms the appointment. And, I think, my discussion with them is that they really have to be careful, in appointing, boards, especially when, some of the actions could have some lasting effects, and so I think it's incumbent on the commission's part too, to when they're doing this, to think about all of that.
Be careful about who they appoint.
Yes, that's the bottom line, Yeah, and so those are some of the things I'll be doing as the chair of this board and a member of the commission.
So one thing I'd like to have you share with them is that the city of Benton Harbor is, because of them appointing the membership to the board, has some liability here.
Yeah.
That's right.
And if one of these lawsuits comes through and it can easily take out Takata, the next person on the list is the city.
Yeah.
So the
there's,
city's on the hook, big time for these.
So just deal with your executive director, don't deal with staff. It insulates you greatly from any of that liability.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know the stenographer's name, but it's sure nice to have that action right there, because that was another, I don't know if it was technically a finding, but we haven't had minutes forever. And I think we might have some professionally done minutes now.
And I think it's incumbent on us to introduce her to, I think some people don't know her. I'm gonna let Ms. Robinson
Well, I'll
introduce her.
introduce Miss Vivian Burton. Known her for most of my life. We worked together at the courthouse. We grew up in the neighborhoods. We are classmates as well. So I'll give her the floor to, if you want to share anything about herself and her family.
Pretty
But,
much.
but she's well connected with the community,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
very,
yeah.
very connected. And, I think whoever came up with this choice, which I had nothing to do with it, was an excellent decision.
Vivian, you got anything you want to add?
Well, she pretty much summed it up. Yeah, I'm the wife of a bishop in the community,
Mhm.
Bishop Melvin Burton, and sister-in-law to Maurice Burton, who works at the high school with the youth, hands-on. And most of the family are in law enforcement. Brother-in-law was a state trooper, retired. Maurice from the high school retired as state trooper. And my brother was a Benton Township officer. We're pretty much well knitted in the community. Our Genesis program always worked hand in hand with PGA over the years, which was a fundraiser for our youth at our church. That pretty much sums it up.
Add to it too, that she's a classmate of mine too, from class of 1974. We go all the way back to the second grade bar school.
Our school. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sung in the glee club and all. And she's very smart. You know, she was smart then, smart now, you know. And, she worked for Judge Linda Tolan, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so she was my hiring judge at the
Mhm.
time, yeah, my first hiring judge. I had worked previously with all the other judges, but she was the only one that actually hired me in as her personal secretary.
Mhm.
And then administrative assistants we became after that, as far as courtroom duties, clerk duties at our desk, just a lot of different things
Mhm.
dealing with the courthouse.
So, she- yep.
Yeah.
All right, guess that's it. Oh, at this time, yeah, public comments. Is there anybody in the public that has any comments? Okay, no public comments. Going once, going twice. Go on.
Adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Motion to adjourn.
Roll call.
Okay, first got a
Oh, okay.
motion.
Oh, I make that motion.
And a second.
It's been moved by Ms. Robinson and second by Mr. Nesbitt to adjourn. Roll call.
Ron Singleton.
Yes.
Spencer Nesbitt. Virgil Hatchett. Bill Jackson. Cora Robinson, yes.
Meeting adjourned.
At 7:16. Yeah.
All right.